President Obama there. Well, UKIP's leader Nigel Farage rejects President Obama's suggestion that the UK could take up to 10 years to negotiate a trade deal with the US if it were to leave the European Union.
What Obama's been doing on trade is parroting the number 10 line that he's been spoon-fed. And the clue, it's very obvious, he said Britain would be at the back of the queue. Americans don't say queue, Americans say line. And that was the real hint that actually he's doing Mr. Cameron's bidding.
But I've talked to a number of Americans who say, no, he genuinely believes this stuff, maybe coinciding with exactly what Mr. Cameron says, as you suggest. But David Cameron does not pull the strings and make the American president dance. This man believes what he says.
Well, that's fine. I hope he goes back to Washington and says, we're about to open the border to 120 million Mexicans. We're going to transfer our central bank to Montreal. And we're going to turn NAFTA into a full political union, and America will no longer be a sovereign nation. I don't think he'd last very long if he said that. And yet he's advocating that the United Kingdom should not be an independent democracy and is not able or capable to negotiate trade deals. Frankly, it's quite ridiculous.
But he wasn't quite saying that, was he? He was saying it would be difficult. That was what he was saying.
To hear an American president basically coming to London to threaten us, I don't think goes down very well.
You may be right about that, but a number of the papers today have said, I'm quoting one of them, I think it was the Sunday Times, saying this has been the worst week for the Brexit campaign. This week has been very bad for you. Do you agree?
Yes, I do.
Do you? Why?
I do, but for different reasons. We had the official designation just 10 days ago. The official Vote Leave camp are the designated campaign. And, you know, I wish them well, and I still do. And the fact that we've got 6 Conservative cabinet ministers on the Leave side of the argument is better than I could ever have dreamt of. It's great. You know, Boris and big names are involved. However, what we've seen for the last week, and all we see, are Conservative cabinet ministers, you know, doing morning press briefings in Millbank Tower, and that is projected as being the Leave campaign. There is a problem with that. It's very simple. Nearly 75% of those that can vote chose not to vote Conservative in the general election last year. A lot of people hate the Conservatives because they've been brought up in tribal British politics. And it's really interesting. I was on Any Questions on Friday on Radio 4 with Mick Cash. He's the leader of the RMT. And he was putting a very eloquent, passionate, left-wing case as to why he thinks we should come out of the European Union and that workers would do better and that wages would go up. And I think what the Leave campaign have to do, firstly, is to make sure we have trade union voices, Labour voices, UKIP voices. Let's aim at as broad a spread of the electorate as we possibly can.
That is a very interesting point, because there are those also who think Boris Johnson has not had a good week, because you addressed the substance of this. You know, you can get a trade deal with Oman and other countries. Yeah. He has been talking about, in his Sun article, for example, the movement of a Churchill bust and talking about the half Kenyan parentage of the President of the United States. That is not the substance of the issue, I would suggest.
That may well be true, and maybe Boris will regret writing one or two of those lines for his Sun column. But you know, let's not get too fixated on that. You know, anybody through a campaign will get some things right and some things wrong.
But I'm suggesting to you that you're addressing the substance, and this is froth, and these are such important. You know, this is something you care very deeply about.
Yes, I do.
It could have been handled better from your side of the argument.
Well, I'm sure there are lessons we can all learn from this. However, let me make a second point, if I can, on why it's not been a great week for the Leave campaign. It's perfectly clear that the Remain campaign, and the reason they got Obama over, is they want to attack our side of the argument on economics. They want to try and sow as much uncertainty about the future as they possibly can. And when they do that, the Leave camp is in its own half of the football pitch, defending its goal. And that's fine. You can defend and keep the other side from scoring. But to win the game, what you have to do is to get into their half of the pitch and start attacking them. And they are vulnerable. Boy, are they vulnerable. Theresa May this morning on the Andrew Marr show said it's difficult to control immigration. Well, Mrs. May, it's not difficult to control immigration. It's impossible to control immigration if you're a member of the European Union. And that is where the Leave camp needs to be. The Leave camp needs to say that economically it's as uncertain staying in as it is leaving, but what is beyond doubt is that only by leaving can we get back control of our borders and put our own immigration policy in place.
We've got about 45 seconds left. You know, you've been an outsider in politics and you've done very well through that. You have got very big battalions. The President of the United States, Hillary Clinton, at least through one of her spokespeople, the IMF, you've got the Treasury, and they're all saying...
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs.
Every multinational that exists. Terrific.
Right.
Bring it on. This referendum is the people versus the politicians.
But they might be right.
It's us.
They might be right, though.
Right. They've led us deeper into debt. They've taken us into a series of endless wars. We've been very badly governed by the multinationals, Goldman Sachs, and our leaders in the West. And this referendum is a chance to settle some big scores and take back control of our own country and our own lives.
Nigel Farage speaking to me a little